Hey, welcome back. So for today's assignments, your job is to use some of the techniques that you've already learned. You can also look up more techniques. There's a million different techniques on YouTube. And create like your actual pattern. And so create whatever that design is. So what I'm gonna do, since everyone's design is gonna look really different, is I'm just gonna do my design. I've actually already done it, but I'm gonna start fresh and I'm gonna walk you through my process of how I created it. This is the one, this is my end goal. This is what I had in my mind and I actually created. And so for today, your only goal is to create basically this, okay? So this little image right here, like a square design that has whatever you want to show up in your pattern. So then next class, I will do a demonstration on how to take this square or rectangle, I guess, and use the pattern tools on Illustrator and create the actual pattern from it. So here's like my finished product right here. Okay, so these are today, next class, ready to go. So first thing you want to know is, who am I inspired by? This time around I decided, because I've done this a few times before, but I decided I wanted to choose an artist who I love. And so Frida Kahlo, I'm sure you've heard me talk about her before. She's a Mexican-American artist. Here I have some of her work pulled up. Not there. So you might know her for her unibrow. She did portraits of herself. She lived through a lot. She got into an accident when she was like 16 and was in bed a lot, which is why she ended up painting, because she couldn't go out and do other things. She loved animals. She traveled back and forth from New York to Mexico. There's so many different parts to her, but she was a really interesting woman. And her art has always interested me. This is her and her husband, who's also an artist, Diego. So she's my inspiration, okay? So that's what I decided first. You should already know who your inspiration is and have an idea of what you want to put into that. So then the next thing I did was I figured out my color scheme, which you guys should already have. Here's the color scheme I landed on, because she does really vibrant colors, but I didn't want it to look like rainbow. And so I thought this was kind of like a nice variety. This kind of acts as almost my neutral because it's so dark, and then my other colors. But I wanted lots of color because she wore flowers in her hair, and as you can see from her paintings and things, she liked a lot of colors. So you see some of the colors I chose pop up. She used a lot of greens, a lot of purples, a lot of this mustard color. So that's where I got those from. So then I snipped this and I put it down at the bottom of my Illustrator, my blank Illustrator document that I'm gonna work on. Then I also created my new color swatches. So I used the eyedropper and I put them all up here, and I made some variations for them so that I have them. I named it Frida. If you don't know how to do this, then that means you missed one of the checkpoints from last week. So go back to your checkpoints and make sure you watch all those videos, because I talk you through how to do this stuff. So now I'm all set up, and I'm going to go ahead and get started on my illustration. First thing I want is I just want like a background. Okay, so I want a background color. I know I want to do like a bright pink. I want to use this pink color. So I'm just going to go to my shape tool, my rectangle. And I'm just gonna create a big one. Oops, I already have it ready. There we go. So that's what it would look like, okay? So make sure I don't have any stroke. I just have my fill set to whatever color I want as the background. And I'm good to go. I'm gonna go up to my selection tool. I'm gonna click off of it. One thing you might wanna know while you're working is be aware of your layers. So up here, here's properties. You go over to layers, you're gonna have, I already have a few layers set up, but you can create a new layer right here, create new layer. And this works like you can just build things in front or behind other things. And so I'll kind of show you how I use that as I go along. But essentially, I don't want to just add everything to the same layer. If I had this background and then I also put in my like my silhouette of her, and then I also put in the paintbrushes in here, it would get kind of messy. So I have one layer, which I'm actually going to rename as just the background layer. Okay. These are already created. Yours probably aren't created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start fresh with you. I'm going to delete these. Okay. So this is what you would have. Then I'm just going to create a new layer. And I'll call this one like the actual Frida herself. And then I'm going to create a new layer. And if I double click on that, I'm going to call this one like the paintbrushes. Just so that I can stay organized and be able to work with each of those things without accidentally like messing up the Frida. Okay, so if I'm trying to work on my paintbrushes, I don't want to accidentally mess up the work that I did on her face or whatever. So now those are all separated out. As I'm working, I want to make sure I'm in the right one. So the background part is done. If I accidentally put the background in the front, oops, undo. If I move this up, then it would like cover up the other thing. So I want to make sure that that's on the bottom. And I'm going to click on my Frida, and that's where I am going to work now. So next thing I want to do is I just want to add my picture of Frida onto here. I could use these different shapes, use the Pathfinder tool, use whatever I want to create it. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the auto trace method, which was one of your checkpoints from last week. If you remember, I did the demonstration with the donut. So I have some already ready to go. I looked up Frida clip art, and that's where I found this one. Move myself out of the way. That's where I found this one that I really liked, that I'm going to manipulate. I realize it's copyrighted by Shutterstock, but I'm going to be changing it enough, and it's for educational purposes, so I know it's fine. I can use it. Okay. The reason I look up clip art is because it's just going to make it way simpler when I auto trace it. It's going to make it more like simple shapes, as opposed to looking up just like Frida. These would be really complicated to try and turn into a vector. But these, on the other hand, not nearly as complicated, especially this one, it's just black and white. So I'm going to right click it. I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to open up Illustrator. I'm in the Frida one. So I'm just going to paste it in. Currently it's pixelated, so now I need to turn it into a vector. You guys should know how to do this because it was one of your checkpoints last week, but for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna go ahead and do all of it, and I'm going to walk you through this process. So as I'm clicked on her, I'm gonna go up to Window, and I'm gonna open up Image Trace. And pull it off. There's a little image trace. And now I'm going to like play with these options until I get like a clean image that I want to use. So first off, I want to preview while I do it. So that's what it looks like right now. I want to preview it with outlines. Excuse me, fun. But my flowers disappeared. I'm not into that. So I am going to up this threshold, which is going to just, the more you up the threshold, the more details you get. There we go. My flowers are back. And then I can see, okay, I can see everything I need is on here, but it's still pretty simple. This is what I'm going to use, okay? So once you have it set up to where you like it, then over in your properties, so come up to properties, I can click expand. And now I've turned this into a vector, okay? I can even get out of that. However, it is just one big vector that's all grouped together. I don't want it all grouped together, so I'm gonna go to over here under properties again. It gives me the option to ungroup. So I'm gonna ungroup that. And that's gonna allow me to just click out certain parts at a time. So I'm going to ungroup, click off, make sure I'm in my selection tool. I'm going to click on the white background. I don't want that. I deleted it. Then I'm going to, oops, yeah, I'm not gonna mess with that. Make sure I'm on the right layer. There we go. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lock the background up here so I don't accidentally mess it up. Okay, so now I'm on Frida. So now I can like click and drag and get rid of all that stuff. And then I'm ready to start changing the colors and things on here. Okay, so I've got my swatches all ready to go. I think everything that's black is going to end up being this dark purple color because I'm not really planning on using black. So I would just go through and click each of these things. And it almost might be easier since there's so many parts just to click the whole thing. Turn it all purple. It kind of sounds silly, but then I make sure everything's on there. But then I can go back and I can start changing some of these other colors. So I played around with colors. I'm trying to think. I think I did the main purple up here. And then some of these were the, see if I hover over it, I can see where the different parts are. Or the green leaves. I think this over here will be this again. That one will probably be that color. I did like a lighter version of some of these. So like here's my original mustard. And then if I double click up here, oops, it pops up in my other window. I can like, I did like a lighter one. Good. Let's see. That one can be that. What else am I missing? Might do this like, I did like a darker purple. Okay, I kind of like that. So here is my Frida. She's all ready to go. If I like her, then I have a couple options. I can just drag over all of her and I can group her back together just so I don't accidentally mess anything up. So if I go up to properties, I can just group it. And now I can like adjust her size and things. But I think she's fine just the way she is. So since I like her just the way she is, I'm gonna do what I did to that background and I'm gonna lock her layer up here in layers. Also remember, if your layers isn't pulling up, just click on Windows, click on layers. If anything ever doesn't pull up, if your swatches don't pull up, if your image trace doesn't pull up, just go to Window. It's because there are so many different things that you can do in so many different windows. It hides most of them and it just has you pull out whatever you need. Just kind of like you go to the paint closet that we don't have, but eventually we will, and you pull out the paints you need and the whatever. Same thing in here. You go to the window and you pull out the windows you need. Okay, so my background's good and locked. Frida's good and locked. Now I wanted to add brushes. So I'm going to go back and I already have them picked out for the purpose of this demonstration. I liked, it's loading. So I liked these ones. At first I kind of played with both of them, but I ended up just using like one of these paint brushes, so that's fine. I'm going to right click, copy image, and then I'm going to pull up Illustrator. I'm gonna make sure I'm now on my new layer. Oops, paint brushes. Not sure what I did there. Okay, new layer, and then I'm going to paste it on top. Okay, way too big. So now, let's make it smaller so I can work with it. There we go. Now I need to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to image trace it. So once again, I could use these different shapes and things to be able to create this. I could use the pen tool, but I think this is a lot of what graphic designers do is they like play and image trace to be able to create new things. Taking something that's already there and making it your own. So I am clicked on it. I'm gonna go to women. We love a nice woman like Frida. I'm gonna go to Window, image trace again. So you've already seen me do this. There it is. Preview again. Preview tracing with outlines. Okay, and it automatically does a pretty good job just because it's already a black and white image. I kind of set myself up by just choosing simpler images. So if you're really struggling with yours, try a more basic image, and usually it works pretty well. Okay, so it's already looking really good. So I'm gonna go over to properties, and I'm going to expand it so that it actually turns into pixels, or it turns into vectors from pixels. And then once again, I'm gonna ungroup it so that I can click on just parts at a time. So I'm on the selection tool. I'm clicking now just on the background and deleting that. And what I figured out is I just want this one paintbrush. So I'm gonna click and drag over some of this stuff and get rid of it. Oops, undo, Control Z. I don't wanna undo that part. Okay, there we go. So now I just have the basic paintbrush, okay? So now I'm gonna change the colors on the paintbrush again. And I'm gonna do what I did before. I'm gonna just make it all that purple color. But then as I hover over it, I'm gonna like change the different parts. So I think I'm gonna make this green, still staying in my color schemes. I think I might make this, I think I did that pink so it almost is like see-through. I'm gonna make this yellow. Maybe yellow down here. I think I do want this to be purple. And then I have one more spot. Oh, that one's yellow. And then I want like the middle one to be purple. It's light purple. Okay, we like that. That works. So now I have it. Currently though, if I try and move it, it's gonna move just one part at a time. So I'm gonna click over all of it. I'm going to group it together. Now I can move it around wherever I want it. So I want it on this side. I'm gonna move myself out of the way. And I want it to be kind of doing this. This is why I work with it while it's, like the other layers are locked and it's on a separate layer. If I tried to click over all of it and group it together, because the stuff is behind it, it would grab everything. Because I created separate layers, it allows me to be able to do that really easily. So I want it to be a little bit thicker, but maybe kind of like that. Okay, I kind of like that. Once I have it the way I like it, I want another one on the other side, so I'm gonna Control C, Control V to copy and paste. Then I'm gonna spin it around because I kind of want it to go this way on this side. Cool. And that's my design, okay? At this point, this is all you need to have done for today. And then I will create another video that I'll pull out next class. And it will show you how to then transform this into a pattern. Good job.